Hey, it's September and I've got the Beer Temple's Beer Club picks for the month. We have got two Saisons, one domestic, one French. We have two lagers, both modified, let's say, one with smoke and one with pickle. Pickle beers are a thing now, as many of you probably know. And finally, an exciting collaboration between Other Half, Vitamin C, and Trillium. So we're going to get right into it and start seeing what these beers are all about. Okay, I wanted to start out this month with the Thiriez Amber, the Esquelbec Amber. I don't know about my pronunciation of that. I do know, however, that this is an amazing beer that we have not had in the finest quality. Really, we just haven't had it in, and when it's really banged up, we just don't bring it in. But it's come back. We're excited about it, and it's a really awesome Saison brewery that a lot of people may not know about. It is a French brewery. It is right on the border of France and Belgium, very close to St. Bernardus, in fact. And I've got it here in the De La Seine glass, but I have it turned sideways to not confuse anyone. This is not a De La Seine beer. This is a Thiriez beer, and the owner and head brewer at Thiriez is a man named Daniel Thiriez. I'm trying to see if it says the name of the town. Esquelbec. Okay, there you go. In the north of France. There you go. So it's named after the town. Small little town. I've been lucky enough to go there, and it's a nice, quaint little place. An amazing tap room as well, full of like old antique like breweriana and stuff from Europe. If you ever are in Belgium, southern Belgium, highly recommend you go there. Like I said, I mean, it is right over the border. You can see why it's called amber, right? Beautiful amber color to this beer. And so there was a time where if you look now, you may online or in writing see people referring to French style Saison. There was Belgian Saison. There was French Saison. And I helped dispel that. You don't really see it as much anymore because I asked Danielle, what is a French Saison? And because really Thiriez was the archetype of the French Saison, and he told me there's no such thing as far as I know. He's like, there's no such thing as like not specifically not being one. He's like, but it's not, it's something that the Americans I think kind of made up because they want to differentiate my Saison from some of the Belgian stuff. He's like, but to tell you the truth, I got my yeast from a Belgian yeast bank, so it's not really a thing. So you don't see that as much anymore, but the yeast from Thiriez is very, very specific and very unique in that it just creates super duper dry beers. So let's give this one a smell. You're going to be getting a little bit of the peppery qualities that you would expect from a Belgian, so just from any Saison. And you can also smell a little bit of that caramelized aromas and flavors that you get from the malt. Again, the color of the beer, as long as there's nothing that's been added to it to change the color, comes from the malt and specifically how toasted it was, just like a piece of bread. The more you toast it, the darker it gets. Same with the malt. And as bread gets toasted more, the flavors change. Same with the malt. So just from the look of it, it's going to have some toasted flavors. And if it gets really black and dark, it's going to have some burnt, roasted flavors to it, right? But just a lovely kind of like red apple, a little bit of spice to it. Beautiful. So dry, but still the flavors you associate with some sweetness. So it kind of it balances nicely. A little bit of like a grassy hop, perfect for the fall. man, it's only 11 a.m. here in Chicago, and I could easily put down this entire glass. Would go great with food, great on its own. I really can't say enough about Thiriez beers in general, and so unique to be able to get an amber Farmhouse ale. So please enjoy this beer, and if you like it, pick it up while you see it around, because these beers don't come around forever, and you may find a dusty old bottle on the shelf in some other shop. Be wary of those. They could be really, really old. So, know your dealer, so to speak. Know who brings in the beer and how they're caring for the beer. But this is the Trillium Amber. Okay, now we have a smoked Helis lager from Hopewell Brewing here in Chicago. You'll see smoked Helis in the style of Bamberg, Germany. I hope I'm holding that in frame. The smoked beer capital of the world. Very much is. If any of you have ever had or seen Schlenkerla, definitely the most well-known smoked beer brewery in the world, from Bamberg. Not the only smoked beer or smoked beer brewery in Bamberg, but definitely the most well-known. I won't say greatest or best, but most well-known. Not that it isn't the greatest or best. And they smoke their malts, direct smoke, so you get like a smoky flavor to them. And they have a wonderful Helis, which is what I would imagine this beer is styled after. Because what happens with that Schlenkerla Helis is they actually don't use any smoked malt in the smoked Helis. What they do instead is they take their Märzen, which is very smoky and does have smoked malt, and they reuse the yeast. And the yeast has kind of picked up some of that smoky flavor, and they reuse the yeast in the Helis. And just the yeast and the smoke that's been picked up on the yeast during the brewing process is enough to just give a little bit of a hint of smoke to the Helis. The Helis means light in German, hell. So it's going to be a light beer, obviously, so it doesn't need a lot of smoke. Smoke is a pretty strong flavor component in beer, and it could easily overpower it. So just by repitching the yeast used in a prior smoked beer brew, they get just, I think, the perfect amount. And that's exactly what Hopewell has done here. They had a previous smoked beer, and they repitched the yeast into a Helis. I'd be curious to know if they made that smoked beer just so they could make the Helis, because this Helis is just such a beloved beer, the Schlenkerla Helis. And we really loved this smoked Helis as well. It takes a subtle touch as far as the smoke goes to really nail it. But when it's done right, it's really, really beautiful. And it's, smoked beer is a pretty divisive style. And I think this one kind of can bring people together. Smoked beer lovers love smoked Helis. And a lot of people who aren't crazy about smoked beer also like the smoked Helis. So when you smell it, no doubt about it, there is smoke in this beer. It has a smoky undertone. But that's not all. It's not just completely dominated by the smoke. You do get a little bit of that light, bready character from the malt as well. And it's definitely a beer with a pronounced smoky element to it. It isn't like drinking bacon. Some of these beers can be so smoky that it's like drinking a campfire or drinking liquid bacon or something like that. It doesn't go that far, but it is wonderful nonetheless, and it definitely is there, this smoky character. Now, it is still a Helis as well, so it's going to be focused on the malt. Helis lagers are not going to be yeast focused or hop focused. They're going to be malt focused, okay? And they're still light though, right? As I said before, the color is going to indicate what type of malt character. Just because it's malt focused doesn't mean it needs to be this big kind of like barley wine, huge malt bomb. And it's wonderful. And if you're looking for food to pair this with, what do you think would be something good to smoke it with, to drink it with, pair it with? Anything that could potentially be smoked. So meats, but maybe unsmoked meats. You can double up on the smoke if you want, but maybe unsmoked meats, and see if this kind of lends some of those same characteristics that smoking the meat would have. So anything, like anything you would throw on the grill. I think a burger, just to keep it pretty simple, would go lovely with this beer. What about smoked cheeses? Smoked Gouda is really popular. Why not put this with a soft, unsmoked Gouda? I bet you would go awesome. Maybe a Gouda cheeseburger, and this would go really well. So get creative and see how you can pair this beer. This beer is awesome on its own, but I really think it could create some really interesting combinations and kind of experiences when paired with food. So this is the Hopewell Smoked Helis Lager. Okay, now we have our second adulterated lager. This is Donna's Pickle beer. If you have not been aware, pickle beers are very much a thing this summer. One of the hot styles of the summer, and I would say Donna's is certainly my favorite. This is a lager that has pickle juice added to it, so it's going to have a little bit of a tang to it, and certainly a spicy element. People have done picklebacks for a long time at the bar, and I think this is kind of just putting it all together into one. I have it, I do think these beers are kind of lighthearted and fun. You can tell from the anthropomorphic pickle on the back. You'll relish every sip. These people are not taking themselves too seriously, not to say that they're not taking the beer seriously, and that they want to put together a good product. So I wanted to do the same thing. I'm sure perhaps Danny from Phantom would, if he were in a grave. Luckily, he's not. He's still alive. If he were in a grave, he'd probably be rolling over that I'm pouring a pickle beer. Maybe then again not. That guy's put some crazy stuff, spinach and all sorts of crazy stuff into his beer, so maybe he would appreciate that we have a pickle beer in his little Phantom Stang. So you can see again from the color, I'm going to get some of this just condensation off. Going to be very light flavors from the malt. You smell it. What do you know? You know what this smells exactly like? A pickle scratch and sniff sticker. Lots of pickle spice, not too much briny characteristic to it. Still a beer. Maybe the pH is a little lower, has a little bit of acidity to it, but it's really about that kind of, I don't even know what you would put in, probably brown sugar and I don't know, coriander and dill, obviously. So, fun beer, just something that's fun to do. Obviously, it would go well with anything that you would put pickles on. So again, we can go burgers, we can go hot dogs with relish, anything like that. Donna's Pickle beer, as fine an example as a pickle beer that I know of. Let me know what you think of it. Is this going to be your new go-to six-pack every week? Probably not. Will you pick it up again? Good chance you might. So you know what? I went a little bit out of order. I did the Saison from Thiriez first, and I meant to do this one, the Forest and Maine Floating Fields, next, but I forgot. I easily could put them next to each other, but now that I've said this, it won't make any sense, so I will have to put this in the order that I actually drank them. Forest and Maine, no stranger to our beer club, one of our favorites. We only get these guys in every so often, maybe once a year, if that. And we're really fortunate. From Ambler, PA, very small brewery, very limited distribution. They make exceptional beers. They make awesome lagers. They make amazing Belgian ales. They make amazing English ales. And some really solid IPAs as well. I guess I'm just saying they're a good brewery. That said, my favorites from them are probably their English styles and their Belgian styles. That's kind of where they started from. And Floating Fields is just one of their many Saisons. Not just, it's one of their Saisons. This one brewed with rice. You can see it's a little bit lighter. The rice, what's it going to do? It's going to lighten the body of a beer. That's why Budweiser and a lot of breweries add rice to beers when they want to make them nice and light. I think this is about 5%. I think 4%. So there you go, 4%. So what it allows you to do is just make a very nice light beer, but maybe not have it taste completely watery. Nice light peppery little lemongrass going on here. That's going to be from the Saison yeast. Saisons are yeast driven beers. That's why that one amber was so unique, because it has yeast and malt. Something like this is going to be much more just about the wonderful Belgian yeast. Yeah, nice and light. Has a little like lemon lime, lemongrass, a little kind of peppery, like white pepper kick to it. Wonderful beer. Could pair it with pretty much anything. Could drink it year round. I think Saison is really an underappreciated style and should be drank more in 6-packs and 12-packs, 4-packs, as the case is with this. Doesn't need to be you buy one bottle of it at a time, or it needs to be a cork and cage kind of special occasion beer. These are meant to be just drinking everyday occasion beers. Great with food. Really a style that needs to be appreciated even more. These non-sour Saisons, these classic farmhouse ales. All right, last but not least, we have an American Pale Ale, the good old APA, a hoppy ale from Trillium. This is a collab they did with Other Half, and also a brewery that I am personally not familiar with, Vitamin C. Some of you out there might be like, how do you not know about Vitamin C? Sorry. I mean, there's just only so much that I am going to spend keeping up with breweries. I'm very familiar with Other Half and Trillium, and I know that they are two of the most sought of the New England, Northeast, hazy style IPAs. So I'm guessing as I pour this beer, what do you know? Hazy. I mean, I'm guessing. I know. I knew this beer was hazy. 5.5%. APA, American Pale Ale. Think of it as the little brother to the IPA. Same type of flavor profile. Just going to be a little bit lighter in alcohol and therefore lighter in body, but going to be all about the hops. You can see very much a hazy, right? Not a bad looking beer. And I would imagine that this beer is going to be pretty darn hoppy if Trillium and Other Half are putting their name on the beer. Yeah, massive tropical juice aromas to this beer. Guava, passion fruit, mango, like all those tropical fruits that you can think of are what's jumping out of this glass. Very soft mouthfeel, another trademark of this style, but a little thinner and lighter on the palate than an IPA or certainly a double IPA would be. So you're getting a little bit more drinkability from a beer like this, while still having the same flavors that you would expect from a Trillium beer. Definitely a green flavor as well. Just a classic example of the hop profile that comes from a hazy, especially one of these East Coast hazy breweries. What I like about this one in particular is it isn't too sweet. These beers can get a little sweet for me. I think the fruity character of the hops makes people kind of sometimes want more sweetness in it because they associate mango and stuff like that with sweetness, rightfully so. I do want my mango to have some sweetness in it. But in the beer, I think I prefer when the brewer kind of tricks you a little bit and allows those aromas to kind of conjure an illusion of sweetness. Maybe there's some sweetness there. It doesn't need to be bone dry, but I think it can go a long way. You taste mango, you think there's going to be some sweetness there, and you can kind of get away with actually drying out the beer as a result. And I like that they've done that here. It's certainly not bone dry, but it's a little drier, and to me that makes it more drinkable, and all that classic hop aroma that you could ever want from one of these beers. This is Small Green Duck Pale Ale. There you are. So for me, I'm going to end it right where I started with the Thiriez Amber. I liked all of the beers, obviously, but I'm going to end with the one that I've just been thinking about the most. And you should choose whichever beer you like the most. Let me know what you think of these beers. Would love to hear from you guys. If you're interested in signing up for the Beer Club, there should be a link down there. But until next month, cheers.